The thunder crashed so loud that Marcus Chen nearly dropped his wrench. Rain hammered against the metal roof of his garage like angry fists. He wiped the grease from his hands and looked at the old hover truck he was fixing. Another late night in his small repair shop on the edge of nowhere. Marcus had been many things in his 50 years of life. A scientist who studied alien life forms, a researcher who dreamed of peace between species, a man who believed all creatures could live together. But those days were long gone. Now he just fixed machines and kept to himself in this quiet town far from the big spaceports. The storm outside was getting worse. Marcus decided to call it a night. He was putting away his tools when he heard something strange. A soft whimper came from behind the spare parts pile. He froze and listened. There it was again. Marcus grabbed a flashlight and walked slowly toward the sound. He moved aside some old engine parts and gasped. A small figure was curled up in the corner, shaking like a leaf. It was definitely not human. The creature looked like a child, but with pale blue skin that seemed to glow slightly in the dark. She had large, dark eyes that reflected his flashlight beam. Her hair was white as snow and fell in strange, twisted patterns around her shoulders. She wore torn clothing that looked like it came from a military uniform. Blood stained the fabric near her left arm. Marcus recognized the species immediately. Velthani. His heart sank. Everyone in the galaxy knew about the Velthani. They were warriors who showed no mercy. They conquered worlds and destroyed anyone who stood in their way. They were cold, brutal, and efficient killers, the stuff of nightmares. But this small creature did not look like a nightmare. She looked terrified and hurt. The child tried to crawl deeper into the corner when she saw Marcus. She made small, frightened sounds. Marcus had heard those sounds before. During his research days, it was the universal language of fear. "Hey," Marcus said softly, keeping his voice low and calm. "It's okay. I won't hurt you." The child stopped moving but kept watching him with those big, dark eyes. Marcus could see intelligence there, and pain, and something else. Hope. Maybe. Marcus set his flashlight down and sat on the floor a few feet away from her. He had learned long ago that the best way to approach a scared animal was to make yourself small and non-threatening. Apparently, the same rule worked for scared alien children. "My name is Marcus," he said, speaking slowly. "This is my garage. You're safe here." The child tilted her head slightly. She understood some of what he was saying. That was good. Most species in this part of the galaxy learned basic human words for trade and communication. Marcus noticed the blood on her arm was still fresh. The wound needed attention. He also saw how thin she was. When had she last eaten? "You're hurt," Marcus said, pointing to his own arm and then to hers. The child looked at her wound and then back at Marcus. She seemed to be thinking hard about something. After a long moment, she nodded slightly. Marcus moved very slowly. He went to his first aid kit and brought it back. He sat down again and opened the kit where she could see everything inside. No surprises, no sudden movements. "This will clean the cut," he said, holding up a bottle of antiseptic. "It might sting a little, but then it will feel better." The child extended her arm toward him. Her hand was shaking, but she was trying to be brave. Marcus felt something twist in his chest. He had seen that kind of courage before. In his research, the determination to survive despite being afraid. As he cleaned and bandaged her wound, Marcus noticed more details. The child's military-style clothing was too big for her. The fabric was tough and designed for combat, but it hung loose on her small frame. There were burn marks on the edges, as if it had been damaged by energy weapons. "What's your name?" Marcus asked as he worked. The child was quiet for a long moment. Then she spoke in a voice like wind through leaves. "Zixara, Zixara," Marcus repeated carefully. The name felt strange on his tongue, but he wanted to get it right. "That's a beautiful name." Something that might have been a smile crossed the child's face. It was the first positive expression he had seen from her. When Marcus finished with the bandage, he sat back. "Are you hungry, Zixara?" Her eyes went wide and she nodded eagerly. Marcus went to his small office area, where he kept snacks and a mini fridge. He brought back some bread, fruit, and a bottle of water, simple foods that most species could digest. Zixara ate like she had not seen food in days. She was careful and polite, taking small bites and making sure to save some for later. Another sign of intelligence and difficult experience, she had learned to make food last. While she ate, Marcus studied her. Everything he knew about the Velthani said this should be impossible. Velthani children were trained from birth to be warriors. They learned to fight before they learned to read. They were taught that mercy was weakness and kindness was a disease. Yet here was a Velthani child who seemed gentle and afraid. "How did you get here, Zixara?" Marcus asked. The child stopped eating. Her expression became sad and distant. She pointed up toward the ceiling, toward the sky hidden by clouds and rain. "You came from space," Marcus said. "In a ship." She nodded. "Where is your family?" At this question, Zixara's whole body seemed to shrink. She wrapped her arms around herself and looked down at the floor. Marcus could see tears forming in her large eyes. "It's okay," Marcus said quickly. "You don't have to talk about it if you don't want to." But Zixara looked up at him with an expression of desperate need. She wanted to tell someone. She needed to tell someone. "Bad," she whispered in her soft voice. "They do bad things. I run away." Marcus felt his heart break a little. This small creature had fled from her own people. That took incredible courage, especially for a child. The storm outside was still raging, but inside his garage, Marcus felt something changing. He looked at this frightened, brave little being and made a decision that would alter everything. "You can stay here tonight," he said. "We'll figure out the rest tomorrow." For the first time since he found her, Zixara smiled. It was a real smile, full of relief and gratitude. In that moment, Marcus knew he would do whatever it took to keep her safe. He had no idea that decision would soon bring the most dangerous creature in the galaxy right to his door. Marcus woke up early the next morning to find Zixara exactly where he had left her the night before. She was curled up on the pile of clean rags he had given her as a bed, but her large eyes were open and alert. She had probably been awake for hours, watching and listening. "Good morning," Marcus said softly. He had learned to move slowly around her. Any quick motion made her flinch. Zixara sat up and looked around the garage as if seeing it for the first time in daylight. The storm had passed, and sunshine streamed through the windows. She seemed amazed by how peaceful everything was. Marcus made breakfast for both of them: eggs, toast, and fruit juice. Simple foods that would not upset an alien digestive system. While they ate, he studied her more carefully. In the morning light, he could see details he had missed the night before. Zixara had small scars on her arms and hands. Not from accidents or play, but from training. Someone had taught this child to fight, and the lessons had not been gentle. Her posture was always ready for danger, even while eating. But there was something else about her too. When she thought Marcus was not looking, she would touch things with gentle curiosity. The smooth surface of his workbench, the colorful labels on his toolboxes, the leaves of a small plant by the window. Her fingers were careful and respectful, like someone who had learned to appreciate beauty in secret. "Zixara," Marcus said after they finished eating, "can you tell me more about where you came from?" She looked nervous, but she nodded. Over the next hour, using simple words and hand gestures, she told him a story that made Marcus feel sick. Zixara came from a Velthani military ship called the Iron Claw. Her mother was the commander. Her father had died in battle when Zixara was very young. Since then, she had lived on the ship, learning to be a warrior like all Velthani children. But Zixara was different. She did not like hurting things. When the other children practiced combat, she held back. When they laughed at prisoners, she felt sad. When they celebrated victories over weak planets, she felt ashamed. "They say I broken," Zixara said, struggling with the human words. "They say I weak. They try to fix me." Marcus had to stop her there. "How did they try to fix you?" Zixara rolled up her sleeves and showed him more scars. These were not from combat training. These were from medical procedures. Someone had been experimenting on her, trying to make her more aggressive. Marcus felt anger rising in his chest. He had to take several deep breaths to stay calm. Getting angry would only scare Zyxera more. "The doctors hurt me," she continued. "They put needles in my head. They give me medicine that make me angry. But it not work. I still feel sad when others hurt." She paused and looked directly at Marcus. 3 days ago, we attacked small planet. Many people there. Peaceful people. My mother. She make me watch. Zyxara's voice became very quiet. She kill children, little ones like me. She say this is how we win. She say I must learn to do same. Marcus reached out slowly and put his hand on her shoulder. She did not pull away. "That night, I take escape pod," Zyxara said. "I cannot stay. I cannot become like them." Marcus understood now. This brave little creature had given up everything she knew because she refused to become a monster. She had chosen exile over evil. Over the next few days, Marcus learned more about Zyxara. She was incredibly smart. She picked up new human words quickly and remembered everything he taught her. She was also artistic. When he gave her paper and pencils, she drew beautiful pictures of flowers and peaceful landscapes. Nothing violent or warlike. Marcus showed her his old research books. Pictures of different alien species living together. Stories of cooperation and friendship between different worlds. Zyxara looked at these pictures like they were magic. "This real?" she asked, pointing to a photo of human and alien children playing together. "It was real," Marcus said sadly. "I was trying to make more places like this. But people said it was impossible." Zyxara studied his face. "You sad too?" Marcus nodded. "I wanted to help different species understand each other. But most people think it's better to stay separate. Safer. Not safer," Zyxara said firmly. "Lonely." That simple statement hit Marcus like a punch. She was right. The galaxy was lonely because everyone was afraid of everyone else. Marcus started teaching Zyxara about human ideas. About mercy and forgiveness. About helping others even when it was hard. About choosing to be kind when you could choose to be cruel. Zyxara absorbed these lessons like a plant drinking water. She asked many questions. Why did humans help strangers? Why did they feel sad when others were hurt? Why did they think all life was valuable? Marcus tried to explain, but realized he did not have easy answers. These things just felt right to humans. They were part of who humans were. In return, Zyxara taught Marcus about her people. The Velthani had not always been warriors. Long ago, they were explorers and builders, but wars with other species had made them hard and cruel. They had forgotten how to be anything except fighters. "Some Velthani still remember," she said one evening as they watched the sunset. "They hide it, but they remember. They want different life too." Marcus felt hope stirring in his chest. Maybe his old dream was not impossible after all. Maybe it just needed to start small. With one frightened alien child learning about kindness, Zyxara was changing too. She smiled more often. She laughed when Marcus told funny stories. She helped him in the garage, learning to fix machines with careful, gentle hands. She was becoming the person she was meant to be, free from the violence that had shaped her early life. But Marcus knew this peaceful time could not last forever. Somewhere in space, people were looking for Zyxara. Her absence would not go unnoticed for long. He tried not to think about what would happen when they found her. 1 week after Zyxara arrived, Marcus was teaching her to read human writing when she suddenly stopped and looked up at the sky. Her face went very pale. "They come," she whispered. Marcus looked up but saw nothing. "Who comes?" Zyxara was shaking now. "My mother. She found me." High above them, too far to see yet, a Velthani warship was dropping out of hyperspace. On board, Commander Velthara was preparing to collect her defective daughter and punish the human who had dared to hide her. Marcus put his arm around Zyxara's shoulders. "Don't worry," he said, trying to sound braver than he felt. I won't let anyone hurt you. But deep inside, he wondered if that was a promise he could keep. The massive warship appeared in Earth's sky like a dark storm cloud. It was 3 times larger than anything in the human defense fleet and covered in weapon systems that could destroy entire cities. Marcus watched it through his garage window and felt his mouth go dry. Zixara had hidden under his workbench the moment the ship arrived. She was shaking so hard that Marcus could hear her teeth chattering. This was not the frightened child he had found in the storm. This was pure terror. She will kill you, Zixara whispered. She kill everyone here. Please, Marcus. Give me to her. Save your people. Marcus knelt down beside the workbench. I'm not giving you to anyone. We'll figure this out. But even as he said it, Marcus knew they were in terrible trouble. His small town had maybe 5,000 people. The local sheriff had 3 officers and some old plasma rifles. Against a Velthani warship, they might as well throw rocks. The communication system in Marcus's garage crackled to life. Someone was broadcasting on all frequencies. The voice that came through was cold and sharp like broken glass. Human settlement. I am Commander Velthara of the Velthani Empire. You have something that belongs to me. A defective child who stole military property when she deserted her post. Marcus felt anger rise in his throat. Military property? She was talking about her own daughter like she was a broken tool. I know the child is here. The voice continued. My sensors detect her genetic signature in this area. The human who is hiding her has 1 hour to surrender her. If she is not returned to me, I will destroy this entire settlement. The broadcast ended. Marcus looked out the window again. People were coming out of their houses and shops, staring up at the huge ship. Children pointed and asked their parents questions that had no good answers. Marcus's neighbor, old Tom Bradley, came running over to the garage. Marcus! Did you hear that? They're looking for someone. Who would hide an alien here? Marcus felt sick. These people had been his friends for years. They had welcomed him when he gave up his research and came to their quiet town. They trusted him. And now, he had brought death to their doorstep. I don't know, Tom, Marcus lied. But we need to get people to safety. Tom nodded and ran off to spread the word. Within minutes, Marcus could see families packing their cars and heading for the main road out of town. But Marcus knew it would not help. Velthani weapons could track and destroy fleeing vehicles easily. Sheriff Martinez arrived at the garage next. She was a tough woman who had served in the military before coming to this peaceful place. But Marcus could see fear in her eyes. Marcus, we need to talk. My sensors are picking up alien tech in your garage. What's going on? Marcus made a quick decision. If he was going to save Zixara and protect the town, he needed help. There's a Velthani child in my garage, he said. She's not a soldier. She's a refugee. She ran away from her own people because they were trying to turn her into a killer. Sheriff Martinez stared at him. Are you insane? You brought a Velthani here? Do you know what they do to humans? This one is different, Marcus said firmly. She's just a scared kid who wants to live in peace. That's not your choice to make, Martinez shouted. You've doomed us all for one alien. Marcus understood her anger, but he could not change his mind. Would you give up an innocent child to save yourself? Martinez opened her mouth to argue, then stopped. She knew the answer to that question, and she did not like it. What do you want me to do? She asked finally. Get people to the emergency shelters. Keep them calm. Give me time to think. Martinez shook her head but left to follow his instructions. Marcus went back inside and found Zixara still hiding under the workbench. I heard, she said in a tiny voice. They all hate me now. They're scared, Marcus said. People say things they don't mean when they're scared, but he knew some of them meant it. He had put innocent people in danger for one alien child. From a logical standpoint, the choice was clear. Trade one, life for thousands. But Marcus had never been good at logical choices when real people were involved. A new sound filled the air. The whine of shuttle engines. Marcus looked out to see a small Velthani aircraft landing in his front yard. The grass blackened under its exhaust, and his fence posts melted from the heat. The shuttle door opened. and Marcus got his first look at Commander Velthara. She was tall and lean like all Velthani. But there was something different about her. Where Zixara was soft and gentle, Velthara was hard angles and sharp edges. Her skin was darker blue and covered in ritual scars that marked her battles. Her white hair was pulled back severely, and her dark eyes showed no emotion at all. 3 Velthani warriors followed her out of the shuttle. They wore full combat armor and carried weapons that hummed with deadly energy. They moved like hunting cats, ready to kill at any moment. Velthara walked up to Marcus's front door and knocked. It was almost polite, if you ignored the armed killers behind her. Marcus opened the door and came face to face with the most dangerous creature he had ever met. "You are the human who stole my daughter," Velthara said. It was not a question. "I helped a frightened child," Marcus replied. "She came to me for protection." Velthara looked him up and down like she was studying an insect. "You are smaller than I expected. Weaker. I do not understand why the child would come to such a pathetic creature. Maybe because I don't solve my problems by killing people." Something that might have been amusement crossed Velthara's face. "Killing solves all problems, human. It is efficient and permanent. It's also wrong." "Wrong?" Velthara stepped closer. Marcus could smell the metallic scent of her armor and weapons. "There is no wrong or right. There is only strong and weak, useful and useless. My daughter is useless because she is weak, but she is still mine." Marcus felt Zixara hiding behind him in the garage. He could sense her terror, but also her trust in him. She believed he could protect her somehow. "She's not useless," Marcus said. "She's kind and smart and creative. She just doesn't want to hurt people." "Exactly," Velthara said coldly. "Useless." The Velthani commander looked past Marcus into the garage. "Zixara, I know you are there. Come out now, and your punishment will be quick." Marcus heard a small whimper from behind him, but Zixara did not move. "She's not going with you," Marcus said. Velthara's warriors raised their weapons. Marcus could feel the heat from the energy charges building up. "You would die for a creature that is not even your species?" Velthara asked. "I would die before I let you hurt a child." For the first time, Velthara looked genuinely puzzled. "Why? What do you gain from this?" Marcus thought about that question. What did he gain? Nothing, except the knowledge that he had done the right thing. "Some things are worth doing even when you get nothing back," he said. Velthara stared at him for a long moment. Then she stepped back and spoke to her warriors in the Velthani language. They lowered their weapons slightly, but stayed ready. "You have 1 hour, human. Bring me my daughter, or watch your settlement burn. Choose wisely." She turned and walked back to her shuttle without another word. The warriors followed, but Marcus knew they were watching him. As the shuttle door closed, Marcus felt the weight of impossible choice crushing down on him. Save one child and let thousands die, or sacrifice the child to save the town. He looked up at the massive warship hanging in the sky like a sword over everything he cared about. There had to be another way. There had to be. Marcus was human, and humans were good at finding third options when the first two were impossible. Marcus sat in his garage with his head in his hands. 50 minutes left. In 50 minutes, he had to make a choice that would haunt him forever. Give up Zixara to save his town, or let thousands of innocent people die. Zixara crawled out from under the workbench and sat beside him. She looked so small and scared, but there was determination in her dark eyes. "I will go to her," she said quietly. "It is better this way." "No," Marcus said firmly. "There has to be another answer." "What other answer?" "She has big ship, many warriors." "You have." Zixara looked around the garage. "You have tools." Marcus stood up and started pacing. "Think," he told himself. "You're a scientist. You studied alien cultures for 20 years. There has to be something you remember about the Velthani that can help." He went to his old research files and pulled out everything he had on Velthani society. Most of it was about their military tactics and weapons. But there, buried in the cultural notes, he found something interesting: ancient Velthani law. Before they became a pure military society, they had complex rules about honor and protection. One law in particular caught his attention. Zara, Marcus said excitedly. Tell me about the old laws. The ones from before your people became warriors. She looked confused. Old laws not used anymore. Why? Just tell me what you know. Zara thought for a moment. My grandmother tells stories. Long ago, any person could claim protection over another. If they prove themselves worthy in combat trial, Marcus repeated. What exactly does that mean? Single fight, one against one. Winner decides fate of protected person. Marcus felt his heart racing. This was it. This was the third option. Zara. If I challenged your mother to single combat for the right to protect you, would she have to accept? Zara's eyes went wide. Yes. But Marcus. No. She will kill you. She trained since child to fight. You fix machines. Maybe, Marcus said. But if I don't try, you'll die anyway. And so will everyone else in town. He was already moving, gathering supplies. Not weapons. He would never win a fight against a Velthani warrior with weapons. But maybe he could win a different kind of fight. Marcus walked outside and looked up at the shuttle. Commander Velthara! He shouted. I want to talk. The shuttle door opened and Velthara stepped out, looking amused. Has the human decided to be sensible? I challenge you to single combat, Marcus said clearly. Under the ancient laws of your people, I claim the right to protect Zara through trial by battle. Velthara stopped moving. For the first time since arriving, she looked genuinely surprised. You know the old laws? I'm a scientist. It's my job to know things. Velthara began to laugh. It was not a pleasant sound. You would invoke laws that are older than your civilization? Laws that my people have forgotten? The laws still exist, Marcus said. You can't ignore them, just because they're inconvenient. The Velthani commander studied him carefully. Marcus could see her thinking. She could simply refuse and destroy the town anyway. But if she did, word would spread. Other Velthani might question her honor. In a society built on strength and honor, that could be dangerous for her. Very well. Velthara said finally. I accept your challenge, human. When you are dead, I will take my daughter and burn your settlement anyway. Just for wasting my time. If I win, you leave Zara with me and never come back for her. You will not win. Velthara spoke to her warriors in their language. They formed a circle in Marcus's front yard. Other humans from the town began gathering at a safe distance. Sheriff Martinez arrived with her officers, but there was nothing they could do. This was between Marcus and the alien commander now. Velthara removed her armor and weapons, following the ancient tradition. Underneath, she was still impressive. Tall, strong, and covered in scars from countless battles. She moved like a predator. Marcus removed his jacket and rolled up his sleeves. He looked ridiculous compared to her. Short, soft, middle-aged. The humans watching probably thought he had lost his mind. You may choose the weapons, Velthara said, sounding bored. No weapons, Marcus replied. That got her attention. Hand-to-hand combat only? That's right. Velthara shrugged. Your funeral will be quicker this way. The fight began without ceremony. Velthara came at Marcus like a striking snake, faster than he could follow. Her first punch would have broken his ribs if he had not rolled away at the last second. Marcus had no intention of trying to beat Velthara in a straight fight. He was not stupid. Instead, he had a different plan. He ran, not away from her, that would mean surrender, but around her, making her chase him, forcing her to work harder than she expected. Velthara was stronger and faster, but Marcus knew the terrain. He led her around obstacles, through tight spaces, anywhere that would slow her down. The Velthani warriors watching began to mutter among themselves. This was not how combat was supposed to work. Velthara caught Marcus after 2 minutes and threw him to the ground. She kicked him hard in the stomach, making him curl up in pain. But when she reached down to grab him, Marcus rolled away again. Stand still and fight, she snarled. I am fighting, Marcus gasped. just not the way you expected. This pattern continued for 10 minutes. Velthara would catch Marcus, hurt him, and he would escape before she could finish him. He was getting battered and bloody, but he kept getting back up. The watching crowd began to change. At first, they had looked scared and confused. Now some of them were calling encouragement to Marcus. Even the Velthani warriors seemed interested instead of bored. 15 minutes into the fight, something shifted. Velthara was breathing hard and sweating. She had expected this to be over quickly. But the stubborn human kept refusing to stay down. "Why do you not surrender?" she demanded as Marcus dodged another attack. "Because giving up is not an option," Marcus replied. Blood was running from his nose, and his left eye was swelling shut, but his voice was steady. 20 minutes. Velthara was getting frustrated. She had landed dozens of hits. But Marcus kept moving, kept fighting, kept protecting the space where Zeke's Ara was hiding. That was when the Velthani warriors began to understand what they were really seeing. This was not a fight for dominance or territory. This was a fight for protection. The human was taking punishment he could not return because he refused to abandon someone he cared about. 25 minutes. Marcus was barely standing, but he was still standing. Velthara paused, studying him with new eyes. "You are weak," she said, but there was something different in her voice now. "You cannot defeat me." "I don't need to defeat you," Marcus said, spitting blood. "I just need to prove that Zeke's Ara is worth protecting." "How does your suffering prove anything?" Marcus straightened up as much as his battered body would allow. "Because I'm willing to endure it. Because I would rather die than let harm come to someone who trusts me. That's what real strength is." Velthara hit him again, hard enough to drop him to his knees. But Marcus got back up. "She is not your child," Velthara said. "She is not your species. She owes you nothing. Why do you do this?" "Because it's right," Marcus said simply. Something in Velthara's expression changed. For just a moment, Marcus saw confusion where there had only been cold certainty before. That was when Zeke's Ara broke. She ran out of the garage and threw herself between Marcus and her mother. "Stop," she cried. "Please stop hurting him." Velthara looked down at her daughter. Zeke's Ara was crying, but she stood firm, protecting Marcus just as he had protected her. "He is nothing to you," Velthara said, but her voice was softer now. "He is everything to me," Zeke's Ara replied. "He showed me kindness when no one else would. He taught me that strength does not have to mean cruelty. He proved that some people will fight for others even when they gain nothing for themselves." Velthara stared at her daughter for a long moment. Then she looked at Marcus, beaten and bloody but still standing between them. "The combat is over," she announced to her warriors. "The human has proven his worth." Marcus could not believe it. "You did not win," Velthara said carefully. "But you did not lose either. You showed me something I had not seen before. True strength without hatred. Protection without conquest." She turned to address her warriors in their own language. Marcus could not understand the words, but he could see their reactions. Surprise, respect, and something that might have been approval. When Velthara turned back to Marcus, her expression was thoughtful instead of cold. "I grant your claim of protection," she said formally. "The child Zeke's Ara is yours to guard. But know this, human. This changes nothing between our peoples." "Maybe not," Marcus said, wiping blood from his face. "But it changes something between us." Velthara studied him one more time, then walked back to her shuttle. Her warriors followed, but Marcus noticed they looked back at him with something like respect. As the shuttle lifted off and returned to the warship, Marcus collapsed to his knees. Zeke's Ara rushed to help him, tears streaming down her blue face. "You did it," she whispered. "You saved me." Marcus looked up at the warship still hanging in the sky. "We're not safe yet." She could still change her mind, but even as he said it, he knew something fundamental had shifted. Velthara had seen something in their fight that challenged everything she believed about strength and weakness. The question now was whether that would be enough to change anything at all. The warship hung in the sky for 3 more hours. Marcus sat in his garage with ice on his bruised face, watching the massive vessel and wondering what Commander Velthara was thinking. Zixara stayed close to him, ready to run if the ship opened fire. But the attack never came. Instead, the shuttle returned just as the sun was setting. This time, only Velthara stepped out. No warriors, no weapons. She walked slowly to Marcus's door and knocked again. Marcus opened the door carefully. The Velthani commander looked different somehow. Still dangerous. Still deadly. But not as cold as before. "I need to speak with you," she said. "Both of you." Marcus and Zixara joined her outside. The three of them stood in the growing darkness. An unlikely group brought together by violence and held together by something none of them fully understood yet. "I have been thinking about our fight," Velthara began. "About what I saw today." She turned to look at Zixara. "For years, I believed you were broken because you would not embrace our ways. I thought kindness was a disease that made you weak." Zixara said nothing, but Marcus could see her tensing. "Today, I watched a human take severe punishment rather than abandon you," Velthara continued. "He had nothing to gain and everything to lose. By every measure my people use, his choice was foolish." "But," Marcus prompted, "but his foolishness accomplished something my strength could not. It made me question everything I believe about power and protection." Velthara began pacing, her movements restless like a caged animal. "In 30 years of conquest, I have taken hundreds of worlds. I have destroyed armies and broken civilizations. I thought this made me strong." She stopped and looked at Marcus. "Yet you, with no weapons and no army, did something I could never do. You made someone willing to die for you. Not because they feared you, but because they loved you." Zixara gasped softly. Love was not a word the Velthani used often. "That is a different kind of strength," Velthara admitted. "One that builds instead of destroys. One that creates loyalty instead of demanding it." Marcus felt something stirring in his chest. "It means she stays with you," Velthara said firmly. "You have proven yourself worthy to protect her. More than that, you have shown her a way of living that I could not." She knelt down to Zixara's level, something Marcus had never seen a Velthani commander do. "I am sorry, daughter. I tried to make you into something you were never meant to be. I see now that your gentleness is not weakness. It is wisdom." Zixara stared at her mother with wide eyes. "You really mean it?" "I mean it. Stay here. Learn from this human. Maybe someday, you can teach others what you have learned." Mother and daughter looked at each other for a long moment. There was pain there, and sadness, but also the beginning of understanding. "Will I see you again?" Zixara asked. "Perhaps. When I have learned how to be worthy of your forgiveness." Velthara stood and faced Marcus again. "There is more. I am not the only Velthani who watched our fight today. My warriors saw everything. They will tell others what they witnessed. Is that good or bad? I do not know yet. Change is dangerous for my people. But perhaps it is time for danger." Velthara activated a communication device on her wrist. She spoke in Velthani for several minutes. Marcus could not understand the words, but he could hear the tone changing from military commands to something more like requests. "I have told my fleet that this world is under my personal protection," she explained. "No Velthani will harm this place or its people. You have given me much to think about. Marcus Chen, what will you do now?" "I will return to my people and try to see them with new eyes. There are others among the Velthani who question our ways, though they hide it well. Perhaps it is time they spoke more openly." Velthara walked back to her shuttle, then paused. "Marcus, thank you for showing me that there are different ways to be strong. Comfres, thank you for being willing to learn." As the shuttle lifted off and returned to the warship, Marcus and Zixara watched from his yard. The massive vessel began moving away from Earth, its lights growing smaller and smaller until they disappeared among the stars. "Do you think she meant it?" Zixara asked. "About protecting this place?" "I think your mother is a creature of honor," Marcus said. "She'll keep her word." Over the following months, word of what happened in Marcus's small town began to spread. Other refugee aliens started arriving, seeking the same protection that Zixara had found. At first, it was just a few individuals. Then, small families. Then entire groups of people fleeing various conflicts throughout the galaxy. Marcus found himself running an unofficial sanctuary for displaced beings. His garage became a meeting hall, where humans and aliens worked together on projects. Zixara helped translate and served as a bridge between species who had never spoken to each other before. The town changed too. What had started as a quiet human settlement became something unprecedented. A truly integrated community where different species lived and worked side by side. There were challenges, of course, cultural misunderstandings, language barriers, and the occasional prejudice. But gradually, people learned to see past differences to the similarities underneath. Marcus reopened his research into peaceful coexistence between species. This time, he had a living laboratory where he could test his theories. The data he collected began to show something remarkable. Communities that embraced diversity were stronger, more creative, and more resilient than isolated ones. 6 months after Velthara's visit, another ship appeared in Earth's orbit. This one was smaller than the warship, but Marcus still felt nervous until he saw who stepped out of the shuttle. It was a group of young Velthani, led by one of the warriors who had witnessed the fight between Marcus and Velthara. They came seeking the same thing Zixara had found. A different way to live. Commander Velthara told us of this place, their leader explained through a translator. She said there were things to learn here that could not be learned on our ships. Marcus welcomed them, just as he had welcomed every other refugee. Within weeks, they were working alongside humans and other aliens, learning about cooperation instead of conquest. Reports came back from various parts of the galaxy that Velthani forces were behaving differently. They were still warriors, but they had begun offering mercy to defeated enemies. Some were even providing aid to worlds they had previously conquered. The changes were small and gradual, but they were real. Marcus knew that Commander Velthara was keeping her promise, spreading the lessons she had learned from watching a stubborn human refuse to abandon an alien child. One evening, as Marcus was teaching a mixed class of human and alien children about mechanics, Zixara came to stand beside him. She had grown taller over the past year, but she was still the gentle, curious being he had found, hiding in his garage. "Do you think we're making a difference?" she asked. Marcus looked around the room. Human children were working next to young Velthani, who had been trained as warriors, but were now learning to build instead of destroy. A Zelanti scholar was teaching mathematics to a group that included 3 different species. In the corner, elderly humans and aliens were sharing stories and laughing together. "Yes," Marcus said with certainty. "We're proving that different doesn't have to mean enemy. We're showing that the galaxy is big enough for all of us." Zixara smiled, that same beautiful smile he had first seen when she realized she was safe. "My mother would be proud. I won." Marcus thought about Velthara, somewhere out among the stars, trying to change an entire warrior culture one person at a time. It was an impossible task. But then again, most worthwhile things seemed impossible until someone did them. "I think she would be," he agreed. That night, Marcus stood outside his garage and looked up at the stars. Each point of light represented worlds full of different species, different cultures, different ways of thinking about life and existence. For too long, those differences had been sources of fear and conflict, but they didn't have to be. One small town on a minor planet had proven that different species could live together, learn from each other, and become stronger because of their differences. If it could happen here, it could happen anywhere. It would take time. There would be setbacks and failures along the way, but Marcus had learned something important from helping one lost alien child. Sometimes the biggest changes start with the smallest acts of kindness. He went back inside, where Zixara was reading a book about human art history. Tomorrow, there would be new refugees to help, new challenges to face, and new bridges to build between species who had never trusted each other before. But tonight, Marcus was content to know that the galaxy was a little bit brighter, because one human had refused to let fear overcome compassion. And somewhere in the vast darkness between stars, a Velthani commander was learning that true strength came not from conquest, but from the courage to protect those who could not protect themselves. The universe was changing, one act of kindness at a time.